Everything this world has to offer. It's yours to find.
You with me? It's the best thing there is. Finding your
Islands, bigger pirates.
That's where we're gonna.
Chop, chop, cannon!
I'll do you the kindness of killing you all together.
You're my...
Think you know everything about the latest One Piece movie? Think again. From mind-blowing behind-the-scenes secrets to hidden details even die-hard fans missed, they were diving deep into the grand line of filmmaking. This is Hidden Real Fact, and today, we're setting sail on a journey you won't want to miss. One Piece is a popular Japanese manga series created by Eiichiro Oda. It follows Monkey D. Luffy and his crew, the Straw Hat Pirates, as they sail the Grand Line searching for the legendary treasure called the One Piece to make Luffy the next king of the pirates. The manga has been published in Shueisha's weekly SHA written in Jump since July 1997, with its chapters collected into 112 volumes by July 2025. Viz Media handles the English release in North America and the UK, while Madman Entertainment distributes it in Australia. The series has grown into a huge media franchise, including a festival film by Production I.G, an anime by Toei Animation that began in October 1999, 14 animated feature films, and 1 original video animation. It also includes merchandise like trading card games and video games. In 2023, Netflix launched a live-action TV series adaptation. One Piece is loved for its storytelling, detailed world-building, art, characters, and humor, often considered one of the greatest manga ever. By August 2022, it had over 516.6 million copies in circulation worldwide, making it the best-selling manga and comic series by volume. It holds records for the highest initial print runs in Japan and set Guinness World Records in 2015 and 2022 for the most copies published for a single comic series by one author. It was the top-selling manga for 11 years straight from 2008 to 2018 and is the only series with every volume, over 100, selling over 1 million copies. Synopsis stating, One Piece takes place on the Blue Planet, home to humans and unique races like dwarves, tiny like fairies, giants, merfolk, fishmen, long-limbed tribes, long-necked snake-neck tribe members, and animal-like minks. The world government, a powerful and controlling organization, rules with its navy to protect the seas from pirates and criminals, and Cypher Paul as its secret police. The Revolutionary Army fights to overthrow the world government. Pirates, often morally complex, either defy the government or act out of greed, creating tension in the story. Supernatural elements include devil fruits, which give special powers but make users weak in water, and Haki, a willpower-based ability that enhances observation and fighting skills, useful against some devil fruit users. The Blue Planet's surface is mostly the Blue Sea, split into 2 oceans by the Red Line, a massive mountain range. The Grand Line, a perilous sea running perpendicular to the Red Line, is flanked by the calm belt, calm waters filled with giant sea kings. These barriers divide the world into 4 seas: North Blue, East Blue, West Blue, and South Blue. Travel between them is tough, but tools like sea prism stone, used by government ships to cross the calm belt, or the reverse mountain, where waters from the 4 seas merge into a dangerous canal to the Grand Line, help. The Grand Line is divided into Paradise and a New World. Premise: the story follows Monkey D. Luffy, who gains rubber-like powers after eating the gum fruit. He sets out from the East Blue to find the One Piece, the ultimate treasure of the late pirate king Gol D. Roger, to become the new Pirate King. As captain of the Straw Hat Pirates, Luffy is joined by Roronoa's Oro, a swordsman and ex-bounty hunter, Nami, a money-loving thief and navigator, Usopp, a sniper and liar, and Sanji, a chivalrous cook. They sail on the Going Merry, later replaced by the Thousand Sunny, battling notorious pirates. Later, the crew grows with Tony Chopper, a reindeer doctor, Nico Robin, an archaeologist and former assassin, Frankie, a cyborg shipwright, Brock, a skeleton musician and swordsman, and Jim Bibe, a fishman and ex-warlord of the sea. They face pirates, bounty hunters, criminals, revolutionaries, secret agents, scientists, and world government soldiers while chasing their dreams. Production concept and creation. Eiichiro Oda's love for pirates began with watching Vicky the Viking as a child, inspiring him to create a pirate-themed manga. Real-life pirate stories shaped characters like Marshall D. Teach, based on Blackbeard. Oda's biggest influence was Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball, his favorite manga. While assisting Nobuhiro Watsuki, Oda started One Piece in 1996 with 2 one-shot stories called Romance Dawn, featuring Luffy and elements later used in the main series. The manga was rejected 3 times by Weekly SHA Written in Jump before being accepted, with debates among editors about its potential development. Oda drew inspiration for devil fruits from Doraemon, basing their powers on his personal desires and fantasies, like the gum fruit reflecting his laziness. He designs devil fruits to look tempting to eat. Many attack names and concepts use playful Japanese puns, like Zoro's onigiri move, which means demon cut but sounds like rice ball. These puns were toned down in the anime to keep their humor intact. Oda is particular about translations, as English versions sometimes simplify Japanese sound effects. Unlike many manga artists, Oda draws all moving elements himself for consistency, leaving backgrounds to his staff. His intense schedule starts at 5 a.m. and ends at 2 a.m., with short breaks, dedicating 3 days to storyboarding and the rest to inking and coloring. When asked about romance in the crew, Oda said he avoids it since One Piece is SHA written in manga aimed at boys uninterested in love stories. Conclusion. In 2006, Oda planned for One Piece to last 5 years with a set ending, but his love for the story extended it. By 2016, the manga was 65% complete, reaching 80% by 2018. In 2019, Oda confirmed the series would surpass 100 volumes and said he'd change the ending if fans predicted it, noting the One Piece is a physical object, not a cliché tilde copyright like the journey itself. In 2019, he predicted the manga would end in 5 years, though the ending has stayed consistent since its start. In August 2020, Shueisha announced the series was nearing its final saga. It hit its 1000th chapter in January 2021, and in June 2022, Oda took a month-long break to prepare for the 25th anniversary and final saga, starting with chapter 1054. This rewritten version simplifies the language while keeping the original length and details intact, as requested. Let me know if you need further tweaks. Adapting a beloved manga and anime into live-action presents several key casting challenges. One must match physical appearance, to some degree, embody the spirit or personality of the character, handle language, accents, if applicable, and balance fidelity to source material with what works in real life. In One Piece, the characters are exaggerated, cartoonish, and often possess fantastical features. These are more forgiving in drawn or animated form but harder to ground in live action. Casting decisions not only involve the main crew, Straw Hat Pirates, but also a wide ensemble of supporting characters, villains, and cameos. According to IMDb, the One Piece 2023 series has a substantial cast list. IMDb +1. The casting department includes multiple casting directors and assistants, reflecting the complexity of finding both principal performers and extras from different regions, for example local casting in South Africa and parts of Asia, to represent the global diversity desired. IMDb The list also shows episodes credited with casting by region, for example Central American, South American casting, extras casting, Japanese casting, which implies the production aimed for international breadth and diversity. IMDb Many smaller roles are also regionally cast, for example, extras done by local casting in South Africa. Reddit +1. Notable design decision, reported in fan commentary, is that Eiichiro Oda, the One Piece creator, gifted the 5 primary cast members custom shirts with illustrations of their characters when the casting was announced, a symbolic gesture reinforcing the significance of casting for fans. IMDb given the number of characters in One Piece, the manga itself has hundreds of named characters. The adaptation must decide which characters to include in which seasons, how many episodes to devote to their arcs, and whether to recast or age-shift characters. IMDb's cast list already indicates some characters labeled as young, for example young Luffy, young Sanji, or multiple actors playing the same character across time. IMDb +1. Main cast, the Straw Hat crew and key supporting characters. Below is a breakdown of major castings, opportunities and controversies, and how well each actor maps to their role based on the known cast list from IMDb. Monkey D. Luffy +_ Aki God Oi +_ Aki God Oi plays the lead role of Monkey D. Luffy, captain of the Straw Hat Pirates in all 9 episodes credited so far. IMDb +1 taking on Luffy is a high-stakes casting because he is iconic, energetic, and nearly cartoonishly expressive. Fans expected someone who can portray childlike enthusiasm, comedic timing, physicality, for action/fights, and emotional resonance when stakes rise. From reviews, many viewers felt that God Oi succeeded in capturing Luffy's goofiness without making him unbearable, striking a balance of exaggeratedness and sincerity. IMDb the physical resemblance is less literal, since in anime, proportions are stylized, but he carries the spirit. Some fans were skeptical pre-release, but his performance is often cited as one of the strengths of the adaptation. IMDb this casting mirrors a trend in adaptations. The lead often needs to be someone who can carry the weight of the adaptation for both casual viewers and hardcore fans. Roronoa's Oro A. Mikaniu was chosen to play Zoro, the swordsman of the Straw Hats. He appears in all 9 episodes credited so far. IMDb +1 the role of Zoro demands strong physical presence, martial arts/swordplay, stoicism interspersed with loyalty and occasional comic relief, and credible combat ability in live action. Mikaniu is a Japanese actor known also for roles in action or fantasy. The choice of an actor with some martial training or suitable for action scenes helps ground fight sequences. The balance between matching the manga's green hair and 3-sword style and keeping realism in live action is delicate. The adaptation cannot replicate impossible sword stunts exactly, so casting needs someone with credible physical skill. Nami A. Emily Rudd plays Nami, the navigator of the Straw Hat Pirates, in all 9 episodes credited so far. IMDb +1 the casting challenge for Nami includes not only her intelligence, cunning, and occasional greed for money, but also emotional complexity, her past and traumas. Nami is a beloved character. Fans expect the actress to balance vulnerability and spunk. Rudd's selection suggests confidence that she can portray both the cooler, calculating side and emotional depth. She also needs chemistry with the rest of the crew, especially Luffy and Zoro, for group dynamics to feel natural. Usopp Jacob Romero is credited for Usopp across 7 episodes. IMDb +1 Usopp is tricky. He is comedic, cowardly, imaginative, adventurous in his own way, and gradually matures. The actor must navigate shifting tones, sometimes playing comic relief, sometimes serious stakes, and sometimes growth. Given the fewer episodes credited so far, Usopp's trajectory may be more limited or episodic initially, but reliable casting of such a multifaceted character is key to audience buy-in. Sanji A. Taz Skylar is listed as Sanji, credited in 5 episodes so far. IMDb +1 Sanji's role as the cook and fighter, with a romantic streak toward women, and a strong moral core, demands an actor who can combine suavity, physical fighting ability, leg-based combat, humor, and emotional nuance. Given that he appears in fewer episodes currently, his introduction may be paced strategically. Early casting decisions may reflect testing how the audience responds before deeper integration. Garp A. Vincent Regan is cast as Garp, one of the supporting but extremely important characters, credited in all 9 episodes so far. IMDb +1 Garp is a legendary marine figure, familial relative to Luffy, and embodies strength, ideals, and moral tension. The actor must exude gravitas, warmth, and internal conflict, especially when facing Luffy's pirate journey. Kobe A. Morgan Davis appears as Kobe in 9 episodes credited so far. IMDb +1 Kobe begins as a supporting or secondary character but often acts as a moral foil, symbolizing loyalty, growth, and the tension between Marines and pirates. Casting someone who can convincingly evolve is important. Helmpo Aidan Scott is credited as Helmpo in 9 episodes. IMDb +1 Helmpo often represents a comedic foil and partner to Kobe in early arcs. The casting must allow for comedic timing, defensiveness, but growth over time. Buggy A. Jeff Ward is cast as Buggy, credited in 7 episodes. IMDb +1 Buggy is a colorful villain, clown pirate, with comedic and threatening elements. The casting here is delicate. If he's too comical, he won't be taken seriously. If too menacing, it loses comedic balance. According to a reviewer, Ward managed to make Buggy extremely terrifying in the adaptation's early episodes, especially in one sequence using prisoners in the audience to clap a bold dramatic reinterpretation. IMDb Arlong A. McKinley Belcher 3 portrays Arlong, one of the central antagonists of the early arcs, appearing in 5 episodes. IMDb +1 Arlong is a fishman villain with emotional weight for Nami's backstory, so the actor must carry menace plus depth. The casting of Arlong is critical to setting tonal stakes early. The audience needs to feel real risk and stakes, not just cartoon villainy. Mihawk A. Stephen John Ward plays Mihawk, credited in 4 episodes. IMDb +1 Mihawk is one of the world's greatest swordsmen, a mentor figure and foil for Zoro. The casting demands an actor with presence, stoicism, subtlety, and credible action skills. Because Mihawk appears in fewer episodes early on, his casting is a hint at future arcs. Shanks A. Peter Gadiote plays Shanks, credited in 3 episodes so far. IMDb +1 Shanks' brief but pivotal role in the backstory of Luffy, the incident with the sea monster, giving Luffy the straw hat, is heavily weighted. The actor must deliver emotional resonance in limited screen time. The casting is often scrutinized by fans because the Shanks moment is culturally sacred in One Piece lore. Gold Roger A. Michael Dorman is credited as Gold Roger, the Pirate King, in 1 episode so far. IMDb +1 Even though his role screen time is limited in early arcs, Gold Roger's presence looms over the entire mythos. The casting must fit the legendary figure in the narrative's memory, and the actor must portray a powerful aura in whatever limited scenes appear. Other notable castings and young versions. The IMDb credits list many secondary and cameo characters, as well as younger versions of principal characters, for example, Colton Osorio as young Luffy, 3 episodes, Lily Fisher as young Nami, 2 episodes, Maximilian Lee Piazza as young Zoro, Christian Convery as young Sanji, etc. IMDb +1 These younger versions are often used in flashback sequences, origin stories, or foundational moments. It is critical that casting for these younger versions aligns with the adult actors' portrayals, in physical resemblance, emotional tone, and mannerisms. Other supporting roles such as Chef Zeph, Craig Fairbrass, Kaya, Celeste Lutz, Makino, Kathleen Stevens, Arlong's lieutenant, supporting fishmen, Sham, Bianca Tuason, Butchie, Jin, Higuma, Kabaji etc. are also listed. IMDb +1 Many of these roles appear for a few episodes. Each of these characters, while not central, contributes to world building, art dynamics, and to giving live-action breathing texture to One Piece's many islands and factions. The extensive cast list also shows characters like Chu, Plahador, Axe Hand Morgan, Nojiko, Alvida, Crocus, Dragon, Wapol, Tashigai, and many others slated for future episodes. Some roles are marked for 2025 in credits, indicating that casting announcements or scheduled filming already anticipate upcoming arcs. IMDb Casting Department, Logistics, and Regional Strategies. The One Piece Live Action's casting department is sizable. IMDb credits include Jessica Calderello. A Central American South American casting, 8 episodes. IMDb, Samantha Garabrandt. A casting associate, 8 episodes. IMDb, Ko Iwagami. A casting director, Japan, 7 episodes. IMDb, Aidan Johnson. A casting assistant, 8 episodes. IMDb, Kelsey Kruger. A extras casting assistant, assistant extra coordinator, 8 episodes. IMDb, Candice Marie. A extras casting director, extras casting coordinator, 8 episodes. IMDb, Bonnie Rodini. A South African casting by, 8 episodes. IMDb, Rukiya Takano. A casting associate, Japan, 7 episodes. IMDb, Tracy Poulter. A extras assistant, 3 episodes. IMDb, Lorta Ipnray. Assistant extra coordinator, 2 episodes. IMDb, this distribution suggests that the production is trying to coordinate casting across global regions, Japan, South Africa, Central, South America. Since One Piece is a global phenomenon, this regional approach helps in local authenticity, cost management, casting local extras rather than flying them globally, and giving the adaptation a broad cultural reach. Moreover, extras casting coordination is critical in One Piece due to large crowd scenes, ports, marines, pirate crews, island settlements, and sequences of mass battles or background movement. The large number of names in the full cast crew beyond the primary and supporting roles indicates that many minor and background roles are also credited, possibly to reflect fan interest in recognizing named extras or bringing visibility to more contributors. IMDb +1. From a logistical standpoint, scheduling such a big cast across multiple episodes and locations is complex. Actors whose characters appear only briefly would need short call schedules, while leads must be available for the entire shooting window. The production would also need to ensure that actors are available to travel if location shooting occurs across regions. Additionally, some castings are marked for future years, 2025, in IMDb, such as Katie Sagal as Dr. Kira Ebb, Joe Manganiello as Mr. Zero, Sandilo Ramamurthy as Nefertari Cobra, Julia Rehwald as Tashigai, Mark Herlick as Dr. Herliuk, etc. IMDb thus indicates that production is already planning for expansion, and casting announcements for future arcs are being made or scheduled. Fan communities often debate casting announcements, timing, and the order of reveals. One thread notes that characters like Chopper, Vivi, Ace, and Robin have been held off intentionally, while supporting or minor characters, like Smoker, Tashigai, Wapol, Dalton, had announcements earlier. Reddit. Some speculate this is to preserve narrative surprise or to gauge audience reactions before committing major castings. A recurring caution from fans is that IMDb is not a fully reliable source because it can be edited by anyone, and some cast listings, especially for upcoming episodes, may be speculative or tentative. Reddit +2. That said, the general cast list up to published episodes is corroborated by promotional material and press releases. Casting local extras is often done regionally to reduce cost. In fact, in fan discussion, it's mentioned that all background characters, extras, were hired from local South African casting departments, and that the main international casting directors only handled principal cast roles, while extras were managed by local teams. Reddit. That helps in logistics and also fosters local employment. Character-by-character casting depth and considerations. Here I explore some more nuanced casting observations, challenges, and what the casting choices reveal about adaptation strategies. Luffy youth versions. untold ± Aki Godoy as Luffy is supplemented by Colton Osorio, who plays young Luffy in 3 episodes. IMDb +1. It is important that young Luffy resemble, at least tonally, Godoy's version in facial structure and mannerisms so that flashbacks or origin sequences feel seamless. The adaptation may choose to include Luffy's early inspirations or background, so casting younger versions is crucial. The casting team likely needed to find a child actor who can deliver energy, comedic timing, and emotional beats, while also somewhat matching Godoy's appearance, hair, face, height proportion. This complexity is multiplied when other youth versions, for Nami, Zoro, Sanji, also need consistency with their adult counterparts. Zoro Mihawk Mikinu as Zoro must reflect the stoic, committed swordsman, be able to perform more convincingly action sequences, and have on-screen chemistry with Luffy. The casting suggests confidence that Mikinu can navigate sword fights, stunts, or physical choreography. Given that Mihawk appears early in the adaptation, 4 episodes, the casting of Stephen John Ward suggests a plan to integrate mentor foils early. Mihawk's presence legitimizes Zoro's ambition. That the show does not wait until 4 arcs to introduce Mihawk may indicate a more accelerated pacing compared to the manga, and the casting must reflect that. Nami Kaya arc Emily Rad as Nami must portray intelligence, cunning, and emotional backstory, her childhood, her loyalty, her suffering under Arlong. The adaptation's success depends on casting a Nami who can carry fallout when Nami faces moral dilemmas or reveals of her past. Because Nami's arc is emotionally heavy, miscasting or weak delivery would undercut the audience's engagement. Celeste Lutz is cast as Kaya in 4 episodes. IMDb+1 The Kaya storyline is often tied to Nami's backstory, so casting Kaya is also strategic. The actor must support emotional beats in Nami's arc and allow the live action to ground that subplot. Arlong and Fishman themes. Casting McKinley Belcher III as Arlong places a non-human menace in a live action frame, which is among the hardest tasks. Arlong, as a Fishman, has to look believable, via makeup, prosthetics, CGI, but still act emotionally. The actor needs to internalize the cruelty, ideology, and charisma of a villain who believes in Fishman's superiority. The weight on this portrayal is high because Arlong's arc is pivotal. If the villain is too cartoony, the emotional stakes collapse. If too grounded, it may feel unnatural in the one-piece tonal mix. Also, casting of other Fishmen and Arlong's lieutenants in correct proportion to match the manga's design, for example, multiple arms, fish features, is technically challenging. The casting team likely considered body type, movement style, underwater, swimming influence, and actor comfort in prosthetics. Buggy the Clown. Jeff Ward as Buggy is one of the most noticeable choices because Buggy straddles villainy and comic relief. The IMDb credits show 7 episodes for him, which is substantial. IMDb+1 A reviewer praised the show's bold take on Buggy in one early episode. Crowd prisoners forced to clap for him, making his introduction deeply unsettling in a way that departs from the anime's more comedic first impression. IMDb that suggests the casting allowed the writers and directors to reinterpret Buggy with darker tone. The actor must be flexible, able to deliver slapstick, absurdity, theatricality, menace, and pathos. Shanks and Gold Roger. While Shanks and Gold Roger appear briefly, the casting of Peter Gadio and Michael Dorman must ensure that their moments, though short, are memorable and emotionally resonant, especially for fans familiar with the lore. In particular, Shanks' straw hat scene and Roger's legacy speech are canonical and highly scrutinized. The actors must embody the mystique and weight of those legendary characters. Supporting and secondary roles. Many supporting roles, for example, Chef Zeph, Kirubi, Chef Zeph, Nojiko, Alvida, Axe Hand Morgan, Claador, Jin, Wapol, etc., appear in the cast. IMDb+1 Each of these roles helps enrich the adaptation's world. For example, Chef Zeph, Craig Fairbrass, someone must portray Zeph's mentorship to Sanji and his own pirate past with warmth and authority. Alvida, Ilya Iza Erla 1/2 Espolino, as a female pirate figure in early arcs. Casting must balance villainous presence, charisma, and gender dynamics. Kirubi, Jandra LaRue, as one of Arlong's lieutenants, must carry menace and serve narrative tension. Claador, Alexander Maniatis, as the judge of Kokoyashi, an official figure whose corruptness is part of the Nami arc. Axe Hand Morgan, Langley Kirkwood, Nojiko, Kiyama Antoinette Amila, and Makino, Kathleen Stevens. Those represent the local island and civilian population. They must ground the narrative emotionally. Sham, Bianca Estuason, Butchie, Albert Pretorius, Jin, Lithibem, etc. Minor but memorable characters. Casting them well supports fan satisfaction. Because many of these roles are episodic and low screen time, casting might prioritize visual distinctiveness, acting reliability, and local availability. The adapters likely had to balance between international stars and local actors for cost, availability, and authenticity. Future casting slated for 2025. IMDb credits list several cast members slated for 2025 episodes, indicating the adaptation's ambition to continue major arcs. Katie Sagal as Dr. Kira IMDb, Joe Manganiello as Mr. Zero IMDb, Sentilo Amamurthy as Nefertari Cobra IMDb, Julia Rehwald as Tashigai IMDb, Mark Herlick as Dr. Hiraliuk IMDb, Clive Russell as Crocus IMDb. These roles suggest the show will tackle the hour-long arc fully and begin entering arcs that include Drum Island, Alabasta, etc. The casting for these new characters will be under close scrutiny. Are they ethnically appropriate? For example, Cobra, Tashigai, do they fit physical expectations, and can they act in high-stakes scenes? Fan reaction, critique, and casting expectations. Casting and adaptations of beloved works always carries risk, especially for a franchise as passionate as One Piece. Fan reactions, pre-release speculation, and post-release assessment all play a role in shaping how the casting is perceived. Below are key themes from fan communities and media coverage. Skepticism and hope. Pre-release. Many fans approached the casting announcements with caution. Some expressed concern that the adaptation would fail to capture the whimsical spirit or exaggeration of One Piece. Casting choices were heavily scrutinized, whether the actors looked anime enough, whether their physical builds matched, whether they could act, and whether they could fight convincingly. As one reviewer said after watching a few episodes, Luffy is such a love or hate character. A broken bar Godui somehow is able to maintain the goofiness within the character without making him unbearable. A broken bar that deserves some applause. IMDb. Another comment, they did the iconic Shanks moment early on for budget reasons, but it was actually great. IMDb. These reactions show that casting had to overcome fan skepticism. Early positive reactions help build goodwill. Fan casting and speculation. Because fans are deeply connected to One Piece, fan casting is pervasive. Reddit threads often propose actors, local or well-known, to portray various characters, for example Hagback, Smoker, Robin, Ace. Some proposals draw attention to physical resemblance, acting style, or past roles. For example, one thread suggested Ricky Champ as Hagback, emphasizing that Champ's sarcasm, theatricality, and charm could suit an eccentric medical character. Reddit fans also debate the order in which casting announcements should be made, main characters first or surprising reveals later. Reddit. Some fans complain about excessive fan casting posts and call for moderation. Reddit. While fan casting does not directly influence official casting, except in rare cases, it reflects the community's hopes and expectations. Casting missteps are magnified in fan discourse, critiques post-release and adjustments after the show's release. Critics and fans alike evaluated how well the cast fit their roles. Key metrics for success include, does the actor capture the personality, spirit, and emotional core of the character? Can the actor perform, or convincingly act, combat, stunts, or physical sequences? How is the on-screen chemistry of the ensemble? Do the performances hold up when narrative stakes grow, for example tragedy, conflict, loss? Many reviews praised Godoy, Rudd, McAnew, and Ward for strong performances, often highlighting the surprising success in neutralizing adaptation pitfalls. IMDb. Some critiques point to occasional tonal dissonance, moments that feel too realistic or too cartoonish. Issues not necessarily of casting but of direction, writing, or effects. Because the show cannot include every minor character or minor detail of the manga, some characters are omitted, merged, or altered, which may shift expectations for some casting decisions. Some fans remain cautious. IMDb lists many actors and roles for future episodes, 2025, which could change or be speculative. IMDb critics note that cast announcements beyond released episodes may become outdated or subject to change. Comparisons with other adaptations and risks. Many anime to live-action adaptations have faced backlash for casting choices, for example whitewashing, miscasting, underwhelming performances. One Piece's casting thus had to counter preconceptions. The risk of fan rejection is high if a key character like Nami or Zoro is widely criticized. The entire adaptation can lose credibility in fandom eyes. One advantage in One Piece's case is that the showrunners adopted a global, diverse casting approach, with regional casting contributions, which helps mitigate accusations of cultural insensitivity. But balancing authenticity and performance remains delicate. Another risk lies in aging. Some manga characters are youthful, and the live-action must choose actors who can plausibly play those ages while handling physical demands. Overcasting older actors could reduce believability. Undercasting may strain stamina. Because One Piece is ongoing, the casting must accommodate future arcs, many of which escalate stakes and require strong dramatic performances. For example, Enies Lobby, Marineford, Wano. The foundational casting decisions made in early episodes will echo forward. If early castings are weak, later arcs may suffer in audience trust. Casting strategy, adaptation choices, and interpretation impacts. Casting isn't just picking faces, it influences adaptation decisions, what arcs to include, which characters to feature early, how much screen time to allocate, and which thematic threads to emphasize. Some strategic casting decisions evident in the One Piece adaptation include accelerated introduction of key characters by casting Mihawk relatively early, 4 episodes, and Shanks early. The adaptation signals an ambition to bring in powerful figures sooner than the manga did, perhaps to anchor the world quickly. The casting of Gold Roger also sets the tone. The show wants to ground the legendary mythos early. This acceleration likely affects casting. The show must find actors capable of delivering in high impact but limited screen time. It also suggests that future arcs will bring in more major characters earlier than fans might expect. Emphasis on emotional arcs early. The casting of Kaya, for Nami's backstory, Makino, Nojiko, and Darlong shows the adaptation intends to emphasize the emotional side of Nami's arc early. Selecting actors for these roles who can carry emotional weight gives the show opportunities to ground the spectacle in real stakes. The strength of these emotional arcs often depends more on acting than on effects or design. Blending comedy and drama. One Piece blends lighthearted humor, slapstick, absurdity, with high drama, loss, moral conflict. Casting must navigate this tonal tightrope. For comic relief, characters like Usopp or Buggy lean into comedic aspects, so the actors must be adept with comedic timing. For dramatic moments, the same actors need restraint and depth. The casting choices reflect that. For example, Jeff Ward's Buggy is allowed to be both terrifying and absurd. Godoy's Luffy remains goofy yet grounded. Physical action and stunt capability. Given One Piece's heavy action content, casting must consider stunt ability. Particularly roles like Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Mihawk, and Darlong need actors, or stunt doubles, who can credibly handle choreography. Casting often leans toward actors with prior action experience or openness to training. Although IMDb doesn't list stunt performer credits in casting, many adaptations test for physicality and audition stunts in casting rounds. Visual design constraints. While the manga has exaggerated features, big eyes, extreme proportions, impossible stunts, the live action must balance uniqueness with believability. Casting must consider how the actor's body, facial proportions, height, posture, and movement will appear in costume, makeup, and visual effects. For example, Zoro's physique must suit swordplay, Luffy's facial expressions must not look off-putting in live close-ups, Arlong's fishman features must blend makeup, CG and actor performance. The casting likely included costume tests, camera tests, makeup tests, and movement tests, walk cycles, fight rehearsal, to ensure compatibility, flexibility for future growth. Because One Piece is long-running, early casting must anticipate that characters will grow and change. For example, Usopp becoming braver, Sanji gaining strength, Kobe advancing in marine rank. Casting risk includes selecting actors who can evolve emotionally and physically with the story. The casting team likely considered potential for growth, not just first impressions. Behind the scenes, casting auditions, regional casting, and production realities. Although details about internal audition processes are limited in public sources, we can infer common industry practices and constraints based on the cast listings and fan discourse. Auditions and screen tests for leading roles: Luffy, Zoro, Nami. The casting process would likely include multiple rounds of auditions, reading lines, screen chemistry tests with other potential castmates, movement and fight choreography tests, and on-camera performance tests. The producers would seek not only acting skill but also how the actor looks in costume, moves, and interacts with special effects. Close scrutiny would apply to emotional range, for example, being earnest, comedic, vulnerable, or intense on demand. For characters like Buggy, Arlong, Mihawk, Sham, etc., auditions might focus heavily on voice, presence, and capacity to carry strong scenes with minimal screen time. Casting directors, for example Kawai Waigami for Japan, regional casting teams, likely coordinated auditions in multiple locations. Having separate casting for local extras, South Africa, Latin America, etc., suggests that local casting calls were held in those regions for extras, minor supporting parts, or background roles. IMDb Plus1. The casting listings show both principal casting staff and extras casting staff, indicating parallel streams: main actor casting and mass crowd casting. IMDb Regional casting strategy. Casting in multiple regions carries advantages: cost efficiency, hiring local actors rather than transporting; authenticity, locals may better reflect cultural background of nearby story settings; and logistical ease, less travel, visa issues. In One Piece, some scenes likely took place in Africa or islands akin to regions, so having local extras helps ground the setting. Some extras or minor characters may have been cast via South African casting agencies, a fact noted by fans trying to identify background actors. Reddit. That suggests the production leveraged local talent for background roles while central roles may have been cast internationally or flown in. Scheduling, filming, and replacement risks. Coordinating a large ensemble cast across many episodes means scheduling conflicts can occur. Principals must be available for all their scenes. Secondary actors might have less flexibility. Filming location changes, islands, sea sets, studios, may require actors to travel, so casting choices must consider actor availability and willingness to travel. There's a risk of recasting or replacement if conflicts arise or if test footage is unsatisfactory. Some adaptation projects change actors early if tests don't match creative vision. That's one reason why some IMDb cast listings for future episodes may change. IMDb. If any actor becomes unavailable for future seasons or arcs, the production may need to recast, which risks audience dissonance. Therefore, initial contracts for multi-season involvement might have been prioritized. Costume, makeup, prosthetics, and testing. Casting is not just about the human face but how that face appears under makeup, in costume, under lighting, with prosthetics, and with VFX. Before final casting decisions, actors often undergo camera tests or costume tests to see how they look on screen. For One Piece, this is especially important for characters like Arlong, Fishman, Buggy, clown features, and for any over-the-top designs, for example, distinct hairstyles. Actors might be tested wearing wigs or early prosthetics to see how well they carry them. Casting directors must vet whether an actor can tolerate hours of makeup or prosthetics, and whether their facial flexibility, expressions, remains intact under such constraints. Chemistry and ensemble dynamics. One Piece is not a solo lead show. Its core is the Straw Hat crew and their interactions. Thus, casting would have included chemistry tests, seeing how Luffy interacts with Zoro, Nami, Usopp, Sanji, etc. Ensemble balance is essential. No one actor should dominate to the detriment of others. For example, the emotional weight of scenes where Nami faces Arlong must lend the tension between Luffy and Zoro must feel genuine. If one actor is out of sync, the group dynamic falters. Contingencies and alternate casting. Because One Piece has so many characters, Some casting decisions may have backup options. It's not unusual for productions to screen multiple actors for a role and keep alternates in reserve if scheduling or suitability changes arise. Some listed IMDb cast entries for future episodes may reflect early placeholders or backup announcements, not final casting. Casting impact on adaptation, narrative, and audience reception. Casting decisions fundamentally shape how the adaptation is received, how faithful it feels, and how audiences emotionally engage. Below are key dimensions of casting impact: emotional resonance and credibility. Even with great design and effects, an actor must make the audience care. If Nami's suffering, Luffy's determination, Zoro's loyalty feel hollow in live action, the adaptation fails. Good casting, with correct delivery, gives life to those moments. Conversely, miscasting can reduce emotional impact. A stiff Luffy or one-dimensional Zoro would alienate fans. Early reviews suggest that the casting succeeded enough in many roles to win over skeptical audiences. IMDb the ability for actors like Godoy, Rudd, and Ward to deliver both comedic and serious beats made critical scenes resonate. Fan investment, fandom legitimacy, and criticism. Fans scrutinize casting intensely. If a character is cast in a way that clashes with fan expectations, appearance, ethnicity, voice, demeanor, backlash may result. For example, casting someone too physically dissimilar to a widely loved character may distract fans. Because One Piece is intensely beloved, casting missteps are flagged quickly in social media and fan communities. Positive reviews of casting help legitimize the adaptation in fan eyes. Negative reactions can damage anticipation for future seasons. The fact that One Piece's casting announcements were accompanied by fan excitement, for example Oda's gift shirts, suggests the production understood the importance of goodwill and transparency. IMDb adaptation choices influenced by casting can feed back into adaptation decisions. The showrunners might tailor or rewrite scenes around what works best for the actors. For example, if Buggy's casting allows darker, sinister reading, the writers may lean into that more. If Nami's actress excels in emotional confrontations, they might expand scenes for her arc. Additionally, casting principles early signals how much screen time or narrative investment the adaptation intends. Mihawk's early appearance suggests that the adaptation will not linger too long with middle arcs before introducing major figures. Setting expectations for future arcs. Because One Piece is long-running and episodic, casting success in early arcs sets expectations and trust for future arcs. If early cast performances are strong, audiences are more willing to accept future casting announcements, for example for Robin, Ace, Frankie, and narrative shifts. If early casting proves weak, skepticism may linger. The announced cast for 2025 arcs, Cobra, Tashigai, Dr. Kira, etc., suggests confidence from producers that they can maintain casting quality. But the audience will watch closely to see if those castings live up to the foundation. Diversity, representation, and cultural sensitivity. Given One Piece's global fandom and frequent island-hopping settings, some inspired by real-world cultures, casting decisions have to walk a line between creative freedom and cultural sensitivity. Casting local extras, multipolar casting directors, and regional casting efforts suggest that the producers are aware of this sensitivity. Still, casting for characters inspired by cultures, for example Arab-inspired kingdoms, Indian-inspired settings, must be handled with awareness to avoid stereotyping or tokenism. The casting team's international structure, Japan, South Africa, Latin America, gives some support for broader representation, but each principal casting must stand scrutiny. Comparative observations. What other adaptations can teach us? While One Piece casting is unique, it is instructive to compare with other live-action adaptations of anime, manga to understand pitfalls, successes, and strategies. Below are key lessons relevant to One Piece's casting. Pitfalls of miscasting. Too literal. A common mistake is casting purely for visual resemblance without considering acting ability or tone fit. If an actor looks like the anime character but can't deliver emotional complexity or combat scenes, the adaptation suffers. One Piece's casting appears to avoid this by prioritizing spirit and presence over exact match. Overemphasis on celebrity. Sometimes adaptations cast big-name actors for visibility, even if not ideal for the role. That can lead to misalignment in tone or dissonance. The One Piece casting, as reflected in IMDb, seems more focused on matching character fit rather than only name recognition. Underestimating ensemble chemistry. In many adaptations, the chemistry between cast members is what makes or breaks a show. Some adaptations falter because leads don't gel, or supporting actors overshadow leads unintentionally. The One Piece casting team likely emphasized ensemble chemistry testing. Balancing practical effects with VFX. Casting must consider how actors look with practical costumes, prosthetics, and in VFX sequences. Some adaptations fail because actors look off when caring for CGI-heavy scenes. One Piece seems to invest in design tests, costume tests, and makeup trials to minimize this issue. While this is an inference, the need is clear given the cast list's variety of character types, audience patience and gradual reveals. Some adaptations spread out casting announcements and character reveals to build suspense and manage expectations. One Piece seems to use that tactic, for example holding back on casting Robin, Ace. This pacing helps mitigate backlash from early missteps. Reddit flexibility for changes. Adaptations sometimes revise casting midway if reception is poor. By listing future cast names early, One Piece may give itself leeway to adjust. But it's a double-edged sword. Announcing early may raise expectations and limit flexibility. Reflection on the casting list, patterns, surprises, and notable inclusions. Here are some patterns and observations drawn from the IMDb casting list and public commentary. The main cast, Luffy, Zoro, Nami, are credited in all episodes thus far, indicating the show centers firmly on the Straw Hats. IMDb +1. Some characters, for example Sanji, have fewer credits initially, meaning their roles may be gradually phased in rather than from episode 1. IMDb +1. Some minor or cameo roles are listed in multiple episodes, even if their manga presence is limited, possibly indicating expanded roles or narrative changes. The casting for future years, 2025, hints at how far the producers intend to take the series in its first seasons. The division of casting responsibility, Japan, South Africa, Central, South America, suggests a global strategy. The inclusion of child actors in multiple roles, young versions, shows an emphasis on flashback and origin narratives. Some characters in the list have uncertain or speculative status, for example future arc roles, which may change as development continues. An interesting anecdote, some fans have noticed discrepancies in IMDb regarding episode counts or casting entries, for example IMDb listing Usopp in many episodes, or Kobe only in one, prompting reminders that IMDb is user-editable and not always authoritative. Reddit +2 Also, some fans attempted to find extra actors, for example background buggy crew members, and were told that extras were cast locally. South Africa extras casting. Reddit that supports the inference that background casting was regionally managed. What to watch for in future casting announcements. Given how casting shapes adaptation, here are key expectations and red flags to watch for in future One Piece casting. Consistency with physical and emotional traits. Casting should reflect both appearance and character spirit. Balanced gender and ethnicity sensitivity. Avoid casting choices that unbalance diversity or feel tokenistic. Strong ensemble chemistry. New cast additions must integrate well with existing main cast. Capability in action. Stunts. New cast must be able to credibly perform or be supported by stunt crews without dissonance. Fidelity tempered with narrative adaptation. Casting may slightly shift character traits to fit live action, but drastic changes risk alienating fans. Avoid recasting major characters mid-series. Consistency matters for audience immersion. Gradual reveal strategy. Announcing key cast too early may raise expectations. Unmanageably phased reveals help manage hype. Casting for future arcs already considered. Casting directors must think ahead, Given One Piece's scale, transparent updates versus speculative listings. Since IMDb is editable, audiences should treat future cast credits cautiously until confirmed by official sources or production announcements. One Piece movie production and reception analysis. The One Piece movie franchise represents one of the most successful and enduring anime film series in Japanese cinema history. Since the premiere of the anime adaptation of Eiichiro Oda's One Piece manga in 1999, Toei Animation has produced 15 feature films based on the franchise, traditionally released during the Japanese school spring break since 2000. This strategic timing has become a hallmark of the franchise's production strategy, capitalizing on the increased leisure time of Japanese students and families during spring vacation periods. The production philosophy behind One Piece movies has evolved significantly over the decades. The films generally use original storylines, but some adapt story arcs from the manga directly. This approach allows the production team to maintain narrative freedom while staying true to the source material's spirit and character development. The balance between original content and manga adaptation has been crucial in maintaining both fan satisfaction and creative integrity throughout the series. 4 of the films were originally shown as double features alongside other Toei film productions and thus have a running time below feature length, between 30 and 56 minutes. This production decision was influenced by the Toei Anime Fair format, where multiple animated properties were showcased together to maximize audience appeal and reduce individual production costs. The shorter runtime of these early films also reflected the experimental nature of transitioning the television anime format to theatrical releases. The production scale and ambition of One Piece movies have grown considerably over time. While generally sharing the TV anime's cast and crew, they tend to boast much higher production values and animation quality. This elevation in production standards is evident in everything from character animation fluidity to background artistry, sound design, and special effects integration. The increased budget allocation for theatrical releases allows animation teams to experiment with techniques and visual flourishes that would be prohibitively expensive for weekly television production. One of the most significant developments in the franchise's production history occurred with the involvement of series creator Eiichiro Oda himself. One Piece film, Strong World is the 10th animated feature film of the franchise, and the first to additionally star Cha Ring as Brook. It was written by manga creator Eiichiro Oda himself. This marked a pivotal moment in the series' production approach, as Oda's direct involvement ensured unprecedented authenticity and narrative cohesion with the main storyline. The production team's commitment to maintaining continuity with the television series while elevating the cinematic experience has required careful coordination between multiple departments. Voice acting consistency has been maintained throughout the franchise's history, with the core cast reprising their roles across all theatrical releases. This continuity extends beyond performance to include character design consistency, musical themes, and narrative tone, creating a seamless experience for audiences transitioning between television episodes and theatrical releases. Technical innovation has played a crucial role in this franchise's production evolution. Straw Hat Chase is the 11th animated feature film of the franchise and the first to also use computer animation. This technological advancement represented a significant shift in production methodology, incorporating digital techniques alongside traditional hand-drawn animation to create more dynamic action sequences and elaborate set pieces. The production workflow for One Piece movies typically involves extensive pre-production planning to ensure each film can stand alone while maintaining series continuity. Character development must be accessible to newcomers while satisfying longtime fans' expectations for growth and consistency. This dual requirement influences everything from script development to voice direction, requiring production teams to balance exposition with assumed knowledge carefully. Color palette and visual design decisions in One Piece movies often reflect both the series' established aesthetic and the specific thematic requirements of individual films. The production team has consistently maintained Oda's distinctive character designs while adapting them for higher resolution theatrical presentation. This involves reinterpreting line weights, color saturation, and shading techniques to take advantage of cinema's screen capabilities while preserving the recognizable visual identity that defines the One Piece brand. Music production for One Piece films involves collaboration between established series composers and guest artists, depending on the specific requirements of each project. The orchestration and arrangement of musical themes often receive enhanced treatment for theatrical release, with larger instrumental ensembles and more complex harmonizations than television episodes typically allow. Sound design and mixing also receive special attention to take advantage of cinema audio systems. The international production considerations have become increasingly important as the franchise's global popularity has grown. Subtitle production, dubbing coordination, and cultural adaptation elements must be considered during the production process to ensure successful international distribution. This global perspective influences decisions regarding visual storytelling techniques, cultural references, and narrative structures that will translate effectively across different markets. Quality control and approval processes for One Piece movies involve multiple levels of review, including input from the original creator, Toei Animation's production committees, and distribution partners. The high stakes associated with theatrical releases require more rigorous testing and refinement than television episodes, with extensive preview screenings and feedback incorporation before final release prints are approved. Development and pre-production. The development phase of One Piece movies begins years before theatrical release, with concept development often tied to specific anniversaries, manga milestones, or strategic franchise opportunities. The development process requires extensive coordination between multiple stakeholders, including Shueisha, the manga publisher, Toei Animation, distribution partners, and merchandising companies. This collaborative approach ensures that each film project aligns with broader franchise goals and market opportunities. Story development for One Piece films follows several different approaches depending on the specific project requirements. Original storylines must be developed within the established universe parameters while avoiding conflicts with ongoing manga storylines. This requires careful timeline placement and character development that won't contradict future manga developments. Alternatively, when adapting existing manga arcs, the development team must condense complex storylines into feature-length formats while preserving essential plot points and character moments. Character design development for theatrical releases often involves refinements and enhancements to existing designs to take advantage of higher production budgets and screen resolutions. These design considerations extend beyond main characters to include new antagonists, supporting characters, and background populations that must feel integrated within the established visual universe. The development team must also consider how character designs will translate to merchandise opportunities, as tie-in products are crucial revenue streams for theatrical releases. The pre-production phase involves extensive storyboarding and animatic creation to establish pacing, camera movements, and action sequences before full animation begins. This phase is particularly crucial for One Piece films due to the series' emphasis on dynamic action sequences and emotional character moments. Storyboard artists must balance spectacular set pieces with intimate character development, ensuring that the film's pacing maintains audience engagement throughout its runtime. Location and setting development requires creating new environments that feel consistent with the One Piece universe while offering fresh visual experiences for audiences. This involves extensive concept art development, architectural research, and environmental storytelling elements that support the narrative while providing impressive visual backdrops for character action. The development team must consider how these environments will be used throughout the film and ensure they support both intimate character moments and large-scale action sequences. Voice acting preparation and script development involve extensive collaboration with the established television voice cast to ensure character consistency while accommodating any new dialogue requirements specific to the theatrical format. This phase may involve table reads, character workshops, and vocal preparation to ensure performances meet the enhanced expectations associated with theatrical releases. Technical pre-production involves planning for enhanced animation techniques, special effects integration, and any experimental approaches being implemented for the specific film. This phase requires coordination between traditional animation departments and digital effects teams to ensure seamless integration of different production methodologies. Camera planning and movement choreography are particularly important during this phase to take full advantage of theatrical screen dimensions and audio capabilities. Music and sound design development begins during pre-production to ensure that audio elements support and enhance the visual storytelling throughout the film. This phase involves composer selection, thematic development, and integration planning for both original musical elements and established series themes. Sound design concepts are developed to support both intimate character moments and spectacular action sequences. Market research and audience analysis inform development decisions throughout the pre-production phase. Understanding audience expectations, demographic preferences, and international market requirements influences everything from story development to character design choices. This research helps ensure that each film project will resonate with both established fans and potential new audiences. Budget planning and resource allocation decisions made during pre-production significantly impact the final film's scope and production values. These financial considerations influence everything from cast size to action sequence complexity, requiring careful balancing of creative ambitions with practical constraints. The development team must prioritize elements that will have the greatest impact on audience satisfaction while working within established budget parameters. Schedule development and milestone planning ensure that the complex production process remains on track for theatrical release dates. This involves coordinating multiple production departments, managing external vendor relationships, and building in sufficient time for quality assurance and approval processes. The pre-production schedule must also accommodate voice actor availability, music production timelines, and international distribution requirements. The filming process for One Piece movies, being animated productions, involves complex coordination of traditional animation techniques, digital processes, and post-production integration. Unlike live-action filming, the filming phase of animated movies encompasses the entire animation production process, from initial keyframe animation through final compositing and rendering. This process has evolved significantly throughout the franchise's history, incorporating new technologies and techniques while maintaining the distinctive visual style that defines the One Piece brand. Traditional animation production forms the foundation of One Piece movie filming, with keyframe animators creating the primary character movements and expressions that define each scene. This process requires extensive coordination between multiple animation teams, each responsible for different characters, effects, or scene elements. The complexity of One Piece action sequences demands particularly skilled keyframe animation, as characters must maintain their distinctive proportions and movement styles while engaging in increasingly elaborate battles and comedic interactions. In-between animation, which creates the smooth movement between keyframes, represents a significant portion of the filming phase workload. The higher frame rates and smoother animation quality expected in theatrical releases require substantially more in-between frames than television production, creating more fluid character movement or in more sophisticated action sequences. This increased frame count allows for more nuanced character expression and more dynamic camera movements that take advantage of theatrical screen dimensions. Background animation and environmental design filming involve creating the detailed worlds in which One Piece characters interact. These backgrounds must support both character action and narrative storytelling while maintaining the series' distinctive artistic style. The filming phase includes both static background creation and animated environmental elements such as water movement, weather effects, and architectural destruction that frequently occurs during One Piece action sequences. Digital ink and paint processes have become integral to the filming phase, replacing traditional cell animation techniques in most modern One Piece productions. Clockwork Island Adventure is the second animated feature film of the franchise, the first to use digital ink and paint. This technological advancement allows for more consistent color reproduction, easier correction of errors, and more sophisticated color palette manipulation throughout the production process. Camera work in animated productions involves creating the illusion of camera movement through careful planning of how static animated elements are composited and presented. The filming phase includes extensive camera planning to create dynamic perspectives, dramatic close-ups, and sweeping establishing shots that enhance the cinematic experience. One Piece movies often feature elaborate camera movements during action sequences that would be impossible or prohibitively expensive in live-action productions. Special effects animation during the filming phase creates the supernatural abilities and dramatic environmental effects that are central to One Piece storytelling. Devil fruit powers, combat techniques, and environmental destruction require specialized animation techniques that blend traditional character animation with effects work. These elements must integrate seamlessly with character animation while maintaining the series' distinctive visual style and emotional impact. Color timing and palette management throughout the filming phase ensure visual consistency and support the emotional tone of different scenes. One Piece movies often feature dramatic shifts in color palette to support narrative progression, from bright adventure sequences to darker confrontational moments. The filming phase requires careful coordination of color choices across all animated elements to maintain visual coherence and emotional impact. Compositing work during the filming phase combines all individual animated elements into finished scenes, including character animation, backgrounds, effects, and any digital enhancements. This process requires careful attention to depth relationships, lighting consistency, and movement coordination to create believable integrated scenes. The increased complexity of theatrical releases demands more sophisticated compositing work than television production typically requires. Quality control and review processes throughout the filming phase ensure that animation quality meets theatrical standards. This involves multiple review stages where individual scenes are evaluated for animation quality, timing accuracy, and consistency with established character designs and movement patterns. The higher expectations associated with theatrical releases require more rigorous quality control than television production. Motion timing and pacing decisions made during the filming phase significantly impact the final film's rhythm and audience engagement. Animation timing must support both character development moments and action sequences, requiring careful balancing of scene pacing throughout the production. The filming phase includes extensive timing refinement to ensure that the final film maintains appropriate pacing for theatrical presentation. Digital enhancement and post-production integration increasingly occur during the filming phase as traditional animation and digital techniques become more closely integrated. This includes digital camera effects, enhanced lighting, and sophisticated particle effects that would be impossible with traditional animation techniques alone. The filming phase must coordinate these digital enhancements with traditional animation elements to create seamless final imagery. Post-production for One Piece movies encompasses the complex process of transforming completed animation into polished theatrical releases ready for cinema presentation. This phase involves multiple specialized departments working in coordination to enhance the visual and audio elements created during production, ensuring that the final product meets the high standards expected of theatrical releases. The post-production process has become increasingly sophisticated as digital technologies have expanded the possibilities for enhancement and refinement. Visual effects completion represents a major component of post-production work for One Piece movies. While basic effects animation occurs during the filming phase, post-production involves refining, enhancing, and integrating these effects with the overall visual presentation. This includes particle effects for devil fruit powers, environmental destruction sequences, and atmospheric effects that enhance the dramatic impact of key scenes. The post-production team must ensure that all effects work maintains consistency with the established One Piece visual style while taking advantage of theatrical presentation capabilities. Color correction and grading during post-production involve fine-tuning the visual presentation to optimize it for theatrical projection systems. This process goes beyond basic color timing to include sophisticated manipulation of contrast, saturation, and luminance values to create the desired emotional impact for different scenes. One Piece movies often feature dramatic color shifts to support narrative progression, requiring careful post-production work to ensure smooth transitions and consistent visual quality throughout the film. Sound design and audio mixing represent crucial elements of post-production that significantly impact the theatrical experience. This phase involves creating and integrating sound effects, environmental audio, and atmospheric elements that support the visual storytelling. One Piece movies feature elaborate action sequences that require sophisticated sound design to create appropriate impact and excitement. The post-production team must balance dialogue clarity with sound effects and music to create an engaging audio experience that takes advantage of cinema sound systems. Music integration and scoring completion during post-production involve finalizing the musical elements that support the film's emotional and dramatic impact. This includes orchestral scoring, vocal performances, and integration of established One Piece musical themes with new compositions created specifically for the theatrical release. The post-production phase requires careful timing of musical elements with visual action to maximize emotional impact and narrative support. Digital compositing refinement during post-production ensures that all visual elements integrate seamlessly into cohesive scenes. This process involves adjusting depth relationships, refining lighting consistency, and enhancing visual effects integration beyond what was possible during the initial filming phase. The higher resolution and projection quality of theatrical releases demand more sophisticated compositing work than television production typically requires. Quality assurance testing throughout post-production involves extensive review of both visual and audio elements to ensure they meet theatrical standards. This includes technical quality testing for various projection formats, audio system compatibility testing, and content review to ensure consistency with established franchise standards. The post-production team must identify and correct any technical or creative issues before final release prints are approved. Format preparation for different distribution channels requires post-production work to optimize the film for various presentation formats, including different aspect ratios, audio configurations, and international distribution requirements. This phase must consider both domestic theatrical presentation and international release requirements, including subtitle integration and dubbing preparation for foreign markets. International version preparation during post-production involves creating materials for subtitle production, dubbing reference, and cultural adaptation as needed for different markets. This includes timing information for subtitle placement, audio stems for dubbing production, and any necessary cultural reference explanations that may be required for international audiences unfamiliar with specific Japanese cultural elements. Archive and preservation work during post-production ensures that all production materials are properly stored and documented for future use. This includes creating various resolution masters for different distribution channels, documenting all post-production decisions, and preserving source materials for potential future restoration or remastering projects. The long-term popularity of One Piece makes proper archival work particularly important. Technical delivery preparation involves creating the various formats required for theatrical distribution, home media release, and streaming platform distribution. Each delivery format has specific technical requirements that must be addressed during post-production to ensure optimal presentation quality across all distribution channels. This includes color space conversion, audio format adaptation, and compression optimization for different delivery methods. Final approval processes during post-production involve review by all stakeholders, including the original creator, animation studio, distribution partners, and international licensees as needed. These approval stages ensure that the finished product meets all creative, technical, and commercial requirements before theatrical release. The high stakes associated with theatrical releases require extensive approval processes to minimize the risk of costly errors or audience dissatisfaction. Music. The musical landscape of One Piece movies represents a sophisticated blend of established series themes, original compositions, and enhanced orchestral arrangements designed to maximize the emotional and dramatic impact of theatrical presentation. Music production for these films involves collaboration between series veterans and specialized film composers, creating soundtracks that honor the television series' musical identity while offering enhanced complexity and production values appropriate for cinema presentation. Kohei Tanaka and Shiro Hamaguchi composed the score for One Piece. This compositional foundation has provided musical continuity throughout the franchise, with established themes and motifs serving as building blocks for more elaborate theatrical arrangements. The composer's understanding of character musical associations and emotional themes developed over years of television production creates a solid foundation for theatrical enhancement and expansion. Orchestral arrangement and performance represent significant enhancements in the musical production of One Piece movies compared to television episodes. Theatrical releases typically feature full orchestra recordings rather than the smaller ensembles or synthesized elements common in television production. These expanded orchestral arrangements allow for more complex harmonizations, richer instrumental textures, and greater dynamic range that can take full advantage of cinema audio systems. Character theme development for theatrical releases often involves sophisticated variations and developments of musical motifs established in the television series. Each major character typically has associated musical themes that can be developed, combined, and contrasted throughout the film to support character development and relationship dynamics. The longer format of theatrical releases allows for more extensive musical development than television episodes typically permit. Original song integration has become increasingly important in One Piece movie music production, with several films featuring specially composed songs performed by popular artists. This film also stars Japanese pop singer Edu, who sings various original and co-written songs, such as Mrs. Green Apple's Cisadilla Section 8 Il de Macron Kama, which topped charts across Japan. These musical collaborations serve both artistic and commercial purposes, creating memorable musical moments while generating additional marketing opportunities and revenue streams. Sound design integration with musical elements requires careful coordination during the music production phase to ensure that sound effects, dialogue, and music work together harmoniously. One Piece movies feature elaborate action sequences where music must support dramatic tension while allowing space for sound effects and character dialogue. This balance requires sophisticated mixing and arrangement techniques to maintain clarity and impact across all audio elements. Cultural musical elements often appear in One Piece movie soundtracks, reflecting the diverse cultural influences present in the series' world-building. These elements may include traditional Japanese instruments, world music influences, and cultural musical styles that support specific story locations or character backgrounds. The music production team must integrate these elements authentically while maintaining overall musical coherence. Emotional pacing and musical structure in One Piece movies require careful consideration of how music supports the film's narrative arc and character development. The longer format allows for more complex musical structures, including extended developmental sections, sophisticated transitions between contrasting musical styles, and elaborate finale sequences that bring together multiple musical themes. This structural complexity requires advanced compositional and arrangement skills. Recording and production techniques for One Piece movie music often involve higher production values than television episodes, including professional recording studios, larger instrumental ensembles, and more sophisticated mixing and mastering processes. These enhanced production values contribute to the overall theatrical experience and help justify the premium pricing associated with cinema presentation. Music and marketing integration has become increasingly important as One Piece movie soundtracks have become commercially successful in their own right. This includes single releases, soundtrack albums, and promotional campaigns that extend the film's marketing reach through musical channels. The commercial success of movie soundtracks provides additional revenue streams while supporting overall franchise development. International music considerations involve adapting musical elements for different cultural markets while maintaining the core musical identity that defines the One Piece brand. This may include alternative vocal versions, instrumental arrangements that avoid cultural conflicts, and subtitle integration for songs that include Japanese lyrics. The global popularity of One Piece requires sensitivity to diverse cultural preferences while maintaining musical authenticity. Technical music production for One Piece movies involves sophisticated digital audio workstations, professional recording equipment, and advanced mixing techniques that can create cinema-quality soundtracks. This technical sophistication allows for precise control over musical elements, complex layering of instrumental and vocal parts, and integration with visual elements through detailed timing and synchronization work. Legacy musical element preservation ensures that the distinctive musical identity developed over years of One Piece television production remains recognizable and consistent in theatrical releases. This involves careful treatment of established themes, respectful development of familiar musical motifs, and integration of new musical elements that complement rather than replace the musical foundation that fans expect and appreciate. Release-to-release strategy for One Piece movies involves sophisticated coordination of theatrical distribution, marketing campaigns, and international expansion designed to maximize both commercial success and franchise development. The release process encompasses everything from initial theatrical premieres through international distribution, home media releases, and streaming platform availability, each requiring specialized approaches and timing considerations. The films are typically released in March to coincide with the spring vacation of Japanese schools. This strategic timing takes advantage of increased leisure time for the primary demographic while avoiding competition with major Hollywood releases that typically target different seasonal windows. The spring release schedule has become a tradition that audiences anticipate, creating built-in marketing momentum and predictable revenue opportunities for distributors and exhibition partners. Theatrical release distribution in Japan involves coordination with major cinema chains to ensure adequate screen allocation and optimal presentation conditions. One Piece movies typically receive wide release treatment due to their established commercial viability, with distribution across multiple cinema formats including standard presentation, premium large format screens, and increasingly, IMAX presentations that take advantage of the film's spectacular visual elements. The first 3 films were shown at the Toei Anime Fair and the 11th was released as part of Jump Heroes film. These collaborative distribution approaches reflect the evolving business strategies in anime film distribution, from shared presentation formats that reduce individual marketing costs to standalone releases that capture the full commercial potential of established franchises. International release coordination has become increasingly important as One Piece's global popularity has expanded. This involves managing relationships with international distributors, coordinating subtitle and dubbing production, and adapting marketing campaigns for different cultural markets. The timing of international releases must balance optimal local market conditions with the desire to minimize piracy through coordinated global release windows. As with the franchise's anime television series, the 8th, 10th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th films have been licensed by Funimation, Crunchyroll and released in both subtitled and dubbed formats. This selective international distribution reflects both the commercial viability of different films and the evolving landscape of anime distribution in international markets. Marketing campaign development for One Piece movie releases involves multiple phases, beginning months before theatrical release with teaser campaigns, character reveals, and promotional events. These campaigns must balance appealing to established fans while attracting new audiences unfamiliar with the franchise. Marketing materials typically emphasize both spectacular action sequences and character-driven emotional moments that define the One Piece experience. Promotional tie-ins and merchandising coordination accompany most One Piece movie releases, including special edition merchandise, restaurant promotions, and retail partnerships that extend the marketing reach while providing additional revenue opportunities. These promotional activities often begin weeks before theatrical release and continue throughout the theatrical run to maintain audience interest and drive repeat viewings. Preview screening and festival participation strategies help build audience anticipation and generate positive word-of-mouth promotion before wide release. This may include special fan screenings, industry preview events, and participation in anime festivals that can provide valuable marketing exposure and critical feedback before final release. Box office performance tracking and analysis inform both immediate marketing adjustments and long-term franchise planning decisions. The commercial success of individual One Piece movies influences everything from future production budgets to international expansion strategies, making accurate performance analysis crucial for ongoing franchise development. Critical reception monitoring and response strategies help manage public perception and identify opportunities for marketing adjustment during theatrical runs. This includes monitoring professional reviews, social media response, and audience satisfaction surveys that can inform both immediate promotional strategies and future production planning. Home media release planning begins during theatrical release to ensure optimal timing and format selection for DVD, Blu-ray, and digital distribution. These secondary release windows provide important additional revenue streams while extending the commercial life of each film beyond its theatrical run. The timing of home media releases must balance maximizing theatrical revenue with meeting consumer demand for home viewing options. Streaming platform integration has become increasingly important as digital distribution has expanded. This involves negotiating with various streaming services, timing digital releases to optimize revenue across multiple distribution channels, and managing international streaming rights that may involve different platforms in different markets. Long-term release planning considers how individual one-piece movie releases fit within broader franchise development strategies, including coordination with manga storylines, television anime production, and other media expansions. This strategic approach ensures that movie releases support rather than compete with other franchise elements while maximizing overall brand development. The theatrical presentation of one-piece movies represents a crucial component of their commercial success and cultural impact, involving sophisticated strategies for cinema exhibition, audience engagement, and market positioning. The theatrical experience transforms the familiar television anime format into premium entertainment events that justify higher ticket prices while providing enhanced production values and exclusive content that cannot be experienced through other viewing methods. Cinema presentation technology has evolved significantly throughout the One Piece movie franchise history, with recent releases taking advantage of advanced projection systems, premium audio configurations, and large-format screen presentations. These technological enhancements allow audiences to experience the detailed artwork, dynamic action sequences, and complex sound design in ways that home viewing cannot replicate. The theatrical presentation emphasizes visual spectacle and audio impact that justify the premium pricing associated with cinema attendance. Audience demographic targeting for theatrical releases involves balancing the core fanbase of established One Piece enthusiasts with broader family audiences who may be less familiar with the franchise. This demographic balancing influences everything from movie content rating decisions to marketing campaign approaches and theatrical presentation timing. The goal is maximizing attendance while maintaining the authentic One Piece experience that satisfies long-term fans. Special event screenings and promotional activities enhance the theatrical experience beyond simple movie viewing, creating memorable events that encourage audience participation and social media engagement. These events may include costume contests, character appearances, merchandise giveaways, and exclusive preview content that adds value to the theatrical experience while generating additional marketing exposure. Regional release strategies within Japan consider the varying preferences and viewing habits of different geographic markets, with some regions showing stronger preferences for anime content while others may require different marketing approaches. The theatrical distribution must accommodate these regional preferences while maintaining consistent presentation standards and marketing messages across all markets. Competition analysis and market positioning help determine optimal release timing and marketing strategies relative to other anime releases, Hollywood blockbusters, and seasonal entertainment preferences. One Piece movies typically avoid direct competition with major Western releases while capitalizing on periods when family audiences are most active in cinema attendance. Ticket pricing strategies for One Piece theatrical releases must balance maximizing revenue with ensuring accessibility for the core demographic, which often includes younger audiences with limited disposable income. This may involve special pricing for student audiences, family packages, or a premium pricing for enhanced presentation formats that offer additional value. Cinema partnership development involves working with exhibition chains to ensure optimal screen allocation, presentation quality, and promotional support. These partnerships may include exclusive promotional materials, special event coordination, and technical support to ensure that the theatrical presentation meets the high standards expected by both distributors and audiences. Merchandise and concession integration at theatrical locations provides additional revenue opportunities while enhancing the overall experience for audiences. This may include exclusive theatrical merchandise, special food and beverage promotions, and promotional materials that extend the One Piece experience beyond the film viewing itself. International theatrical expansion requires adaptation of presentation materials, marketing campaigns, and distribution strategies for different cultural markets and cinema exhibition systems. This expansion has become increasingly important as One Piece's global popularity has grown, requiring coordination with international partners who understand local market preferences and regulatory requirements. Performance measurement and analysis during theatrical runs inform both immediate operational decisions and long-term strategic planning. This includes tracking attendance patterns, audience demographic analysis, and satisfaction measurement that can guide future theatrical release strategies and production planning decisions. Theatrical legacy and cultural impact assessment considers how individual One Piece movie theatrical releases contribute to the overall franchise development and cultural significance. Successful theatrical releases often influence future production decisions, international expansion strategies, and the overall positioning of One Piece within the broader entertainment landscape. Home media. The home media distribution of One Piece movies represents a crucial secondary revenue stream that extends the commercial life of each film while providing audiences with permanent access to premium content. Home media release strategies must balance maximizing revenue from collectors and dedicated fans with providing accessible pricing for broader audiences, all while maintaining the high production values that justify premium pricing over television broadcast alternatives. Physical media production for One Piece movies involves sophisticated packaging design, bonus content development, and technical specifications that provide superior quality compared to streaming or broadcast alternatives. Blu-ray releases typically feature enhanced video resolution, uncompressed audio tracks, and extensive bonus materials that add significant value for collectors and dedicated fans. The physical media market, while declining overall, remains strong among anime enthusiasts who value permanent ownership and premium quality. Digital distribution strategies have become increasingly important as consumer preferences have shifted towards streaming and download options. These digital releases must be coordinated with physical media release timing to optimize revenue across multiple distribution channels while meeting consumer demand for immediate access. Digital platforms also allow for more flexible pricing strategies and promotional opportunities that can extend the commercial life of each release. Bonus content development for home media releases provides additional value that justifies premium pricing while offering insights into the production process that appeal to dedicated fans. This bonus content may include behind-the-scenes documentaries, creator interviews, deleted scenes, concept art galleries, and commentary tracks that provide deeper engagement with the material beyond the theatrical experience. International home media distribution requires coordination with various regional partners who understand local market preferences, regulatory requirements, and distribution logistics. These international releases may require different packaging approaches, alternative bonus content, and pricing strategies adapted to local market conditions while maintaining consistency with the global One Piece brand identity. Collector edition development targets the most dedicated fans with premium packaging, exclusive artwork, limited edition items, and enhanced bonus content that creates collectible products with long-term value. These collector editions typically command significantly higher prices while generating strong profit margins and reinforcing brand loyalty among core fans who serve as advocates for broad franchise development. Release timing coordination involves balancing optimal market conditions with franchise development priorities, including coordination with manga storylines, television anime production, and other media releases. The timing of home media releases must also consider seasonal sales patterns, holiday gift-giving periods, and competition from other anime and entertainment releases. Quality control and technical specifications for home media releases require extensive testing and verification to ensure that the enhanced production values promised to consumers are delivered consistently across all distribution formats. This includes video quality verification, audio track testing, subtitle accuracy confirmation, and bonus content functionality testing across various playback devices and systems. Marketing and promotional campaigns for home media releases often differ significantly from theatrical marketing, focusing more heavily on the permanent ownership value, enhanced quality, and exclusive bonus content rather than immediate viewing experience. These campaigns may target collectors, gift purchasers, and fans who missed the theatrical release while emphasizing the superior value proposition compared to temporary access alternatives. Retail partnership development involves working with various distribution channels, from major electronics retailers to specialized anime merchandise stores, ensuring optimal product placement and promotional support. These partnerships may include exclusive editions, promotional pricing, and coordinated marketing campaigns that maximize visibility and sales across different consumer segments. Streaming platform coordination requires managing the relationships between permanent ownership options and temporary access alternatives, ensuring that home media releases provide sufficient additional value to justify premium pricing. This may involve timing delays between streaming availability and physical release, exclusive bonus content, or enhanced technical specifications not available through streaming platforms. Long-term archive and preservation considerations ensure that home media releases serve as definitive versions of One Piece movies for future generations, including preservation of original aspect ratios, color timing decisions, and audio mixing choices that may be altered for streaming or broadcast distribution. This archival function becomes increasingly important as distribution technologies continue to evolve. Reception. The critical and audience reception of One Piece movies provides crucial insights into the franchise's cultural impact, commercial success, and artistic achievement within both anime-specific and broader entertainment contexts. Reception analysis encompasses professional critical reviews, audience satisfaction measurements, box office performance, and long-term cultural significance that collectively determine each film's success and influence on future franchise development. Box office. The box office performance of One Piece movies represents one of the most concrete measures of commercial success and audience appeal, with revenue figures providing clear indicators of market acceptance and franchise strength. The financial success of these theatrical releases has grown substantially over the franchise's history, reflecting both the expanding fan base and the increasing production values that justify premium ticket pricing. Early One Piece films demonstrated the commercial viability of anime theatrical releases within the Japanese market, though with more modest budgets and corresponding revenue expectations. In the first week, the film attained second place in the Japanese box office, third place during their second week, and first place during the fourth and fifth weeks. This performance pattern, with sustained audience interest over multiple weeks, became characteristic of successful One Piece movie releases and demonstrated the loyalty of the franchise's fan base. The evolution of box office performance throughout the franchise history shows significant growth in both domestic and international markets. From the first week, the film made a 6-week run in the top 10 of the Japanese box office, placing third in the first 2 weeks, fifth and fourth in the third and fourth weeks, respectively, and sixth in the fifth and sixth weeks. This sustained performance indicates strong word-of-mouth promotion and repeat viewings that characterize successful franchise entertainment. Recent One Piece films have achieved unprecedented commercial success, with revenue figures that place them among the highest-grossing anime films in history. One Piece film Red is also the highest-grossing One Piece film to date. Despite only being released to box office in Japan, its box office gross revenue is approximately 3 times the manga series, which then became an anime TV show, has now been adapted into an ambitious live-action series with mixed results, and beloved long-running stories are translated to a new medium. They're often caught between irritating longtime fans, who will chafe at whatever changes have been made to introduce the movie or show or book to newbies, and vexing interested newcomers, who may be baffled by the material regardless of those mainstreaming changes. But the new live-action version of One Piece, a decades-running Japanese comics series that has been adapted into a beloved anime series and many animated features, could actually play well for those two audience segments. Hardcore fans of previous incarnations may simply be fascinated to see such eccentric material finally and improbably translated into flesh and blood, while Netflix surfers intrigued by a strange, pirate-centric, superpower-augmented adventure fantasy series may delight in the sheer novelty factor. It's everyone else in the casual in-between that could wind up staring at the screen with a puzzled expression. In its broad outlines, One Piece contains multiple elements seen in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. It's about a band of likable outlaws searching for the titular single-serving treasure that will confer the title King of the Pirates upon whoever finds it, while they're pursued by rival pirates and officious yet vaguely corrupt marines. But Monkey D. Luffy, I+Aki God Oi, is arguably closer to signing up with the VeggieTales than he is to becoming Jack Sparrow. He's a cheerful, wide-eyed, stretchy-limbed young dreamer who wants to become a pirate captain and king without actually stealing anything or terrorizing anyone. He's soon joined, with some reluctance, by pirate-hunting swordsman Roronoa's Oro, Mikaniu, and wily thief Nami, Emily Rudd, whose backstories are filled in as the 8-episode season proceeds. In other One Piece productions, like the recent movie One Piece film, Red, Monkey D. Luffy is animated with such brash energy that his semi-grotesque stretching powers only accentuate his comic charm. Here, those powers are animated with dodgy-looking CGI, and in depicting Luffy's more human qualities, God Oi leans so hard on the guileless boyishness that his default smirk becomes mono-expressive. God Oi's performance is part of a larger mismatch. Some of the actors gleefully embody live-action cartoons, while others work in a mildly snarkier register. Mikaniu and Rudd, for example, both outsource potential outlandishness to their brightly colored hairstyles, underplaying opposite God Oi's boundless enthusiasm. Meanwhile, multiple supporting characters goggle and mug like they're in a Terry Gilliam knockoff. It's hard to blame anyone for overacting or holding back, for that matter when the show's house style imitates exactly that woozy, unwieldy Gilliam sensibility, using occasional fisheye lenses and unceasing handheld low-angle close-ups. Though the show notably lacks the visionary thrills of vintage Gilliam, its scarishness is pleasingly unlike much else on TV. And just as the actors' performance styles sometimes clash, the overall imagination of One Piece competes with this particular iteration's budget, which appears to be lavish but perhaps still not quite enough. Some settings, a sort of gothic castle, site of a 2-episode detour, and details, radios and loudspeakers only exist when fed through oversized snails, depicted via puppetry, make better use of this mishmash quality than others, like some unconvincing high seas battles. As the season goes on, Luffy's cohort eventually grows to include the similarly excitable Usopp, Jacob Romero Gibson, a marksman and fabulist with pirate lineage, and Sanji, Taz Skylar, an ambitious chef, martial artist, whose origin is a late-breaking season highlight. In contemporary streaming style, long stretches of the first season focus on setup that would have once been consigned to perhaps a double-length pilot episode. With so much backstory and table setting, the time for episodic adventuring winds up limited. A shame, because the show's fresh-faced ensemble and general weirdness would be a good fit for a Quest of the Week format. When One Piece attempts to pull together its disparate elements into a grander, overarching theme, it tries to address the unwillingness of an older generation to cede their power to younger ones when chased with some kite-but-style malarkey about the importance of following dreams. It all comes across as pretty glib. The recent One Piece film, Red, is, on the balance, waywarder and more maniacal, yet also, within its mania, a more potent emotional experience, too. Maybe it's poor luck of the draw on villains. The bad guy in Red is deeply empathetic, more misguided than Mastermind, while one of the ongoing baddies of the Netflix series is a self-disassembling pirate called Buggy the Clown. Yet even in the face of such lost-in-translation flights of fancy, there remains something oddly enjoyable about One Piece's conceptual loopiness and its hot topic optimism. even when it looks like half measures. To call it truly good would be a stretch worthy of Monkey D. Luffy's rubbery limbs. To call it dull, however, would be outright dishonesty. One Piece is now available on Netflix.